It's a nice night to be indoors, I think. The wind howling out there. Good evening and welcome. My name is Josh Owen. I'm the Vignelli Distinguished Professor of Design and the Director of the Vignelli Center for Design Studies here at RIT. Tonight marks the third lecture of the 22-23 academic year and the last of our fall 22 Vignelli Design Conversation series, presented by Design Milk and RIT's Magic Center, and made possible in part by the generosity of RIT alumnus Chris Bailey and Bailey Brand Consulting. I'd like to begin by offering my gratitude to RIT's Magic Center and their remarkable team of faculty, staff, and students, as well as our interpreters for this evening, Denise Herrera and Allison Merkel, for their work. I would also like to thank the College of Art and Design's Dean's Office for sponsoring the reception, which will take place in the lobby outside the theater immediately following tonight's talk. I hope that you'll join us for some snacks with tonight's distinguished speaker afterwards. Rochester Institute of Technology's Vignelli Center for Design Studies is an international hub for education, research, collaboration, and advocacy, which expands the scope of the programs in the College of Art and Design School of Design. The facility houses the archive of renowned designers Lella and Massimo Vignelli, whose works are icons of international design. The center and archives sit within RIT's College of Art and Design, which was built on the traditional territory of the Onondaga, or people of the Great Hill. In English, they're known as Seneca people, the keepers of the Western Door. They are one of the 6 sovereign nations that make up the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. We honor the land on which RIT was built and recognize the unique relationship that the indigenous stewards have with this land. That relationship is the core of their traditions, cultures, and histories. We recognize the history of genocide, colonization, and assimilation of indigenous people that took place on this land. Mindful of those histories, we work towards understanding, acknowledging, and reconciling. As stewards of history and content, we must acknowledge and seek to learn from our context, bad and good, ugly and beautiful. This applies to the Vignelli Center as with any archive. The Vignellis taught us that design is a systematic framework for solving the world's most intractable problems. If recent times have taught us anything, it's that while we as humans are adaptable, our societies and our systems have significant flaws. We're at a point when we need to have difficult discussions and work to create a new balance in the world. In this, design must play a critical role. As the director, I aim to make the Vignelli Center even more accessible and applicable by bringing in stimulating guest contributors from diverse and underrepresented backgrounds who will help us to consider design in innovative ways. The Vignelli's design is one philosophy leaves us with a universal message that design is a lens through which we can envision a more inclusive and sustainable tomorrow. Shawn Dunwoody's experience as a director, producer, designer, maker, influencer, developer, and artist gives him the opportunity to establish cutting-edge creative design in a variety of forms. His practice in creative implementation and innovative planning focuses on urban interventions and community forms of urban development. He believes in contextual knowledge, an original approach, and imagination as the basis for crafting new forms of appropriation of space, common production, and creative development. Dunwoody says, "In everything I do, I bring a stay creative thinking to the table and aim to integrate the needs of people, the possibilities of technology, and the genius of great experiences. I understand that creativity inspires and plays on our curiosity. This makes people want to hear more, learn more, and engage more." Shawn's office, Dunwoody Visual Consulting, is a multi-award-winning design-based strategic art team that takes a creative approach to brand enhancement for organizations in the public and private realm. Innovate, inspire, and implement original concepts and bring them to life. DVC identifies visual thinking as a vital art for developing new ideas and communicating those effectively through design services, products, events, spaces, special initiatives, and interactive experiences. It is hard to imagine the city of Rochester without the poetic and impactful mark-making of our lecturer tonight. Anyone who knows Shawn knows that, like his work, his energy and his ideas are infectious. Shawn's murals and many other creative works surround us in the city of Rochester. They inspire us to come together, to ask hard questions, as well as to celebrate the stories that make us unique and the stories that show us to be the same. Shawn's mark-making is spreading, and these days his brand is recognizable far beyond our city and our region. So I feel all the more lucky to be able to pin down the unstoppable man from his mission to focus for a moment on our community at RIT tonight. Please join me in a warm Vignelli Center welcome for the distinguished director, producer, designer, maker, influencer, developer, and artist, Shawn Dunwoody.
Thank you. Hope you folks can hear me. Can you hear me well out there? You hear me okay? All right, we're gonna take a little ride together. A whole new world. When I was asked to come here and be a speaker, I'm like, okay, what the hell do I know about designing anything? I just do crap. But I appreciate that that I could be here today. I appreciate everyone for stopping in and giving a listen. So, when we sat down and said, okay, what should this talk be about? You know, give people a feel of who you are. You know, kind of who you are. So, right there, that's me at 3 years old. Let me hear you say, "Oh, oh, that's so nice of you. I'm glad you care. I'm glad you care." So I thought, all right, Josh, I'll come up with something to tell sort of why I'm here, how I got here, and what is it that I think I do from time to time, or what other people think I do from time to time. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to write this down, I'll say this. And I realized I have a video that someone already produced that says it way better than I can actually say it. So I'm going to cheat and show you that first. Activism informs art, and art affects activism. They go hand in hand. When you take that brush to the wall or to the canvas, or you're molding that clay, you're creating some sort of movement. You're looking for some sort of change. And I realized that art can actually be a fuel to kick that change off in a major way. Growing up in Rochester, New York, I spent a lot of time alone because mom's got to work 2 jobs, and I started to spend a lot of time in drawing and coloring and comic books, and I wanted to be a superhero and help shape the world, and I saw that there were ways to actually do this with art and bringing people together. I began showing in galleries and at universities and colleges, and I was lecturing and talking about what some of the issues are that I'm dealing with here, being a black man here in America. And I felt it was great. I'm like, oh yeah, look at this. People are paying attention to me, and it's gonna be great, and I got a chance to hang my artwork. But I had a moment where I was addressing an audience, and the audience looked nothing like me. And I said, do they really care about what I'm talking about? And once I leave this room, will they actually try to create some change in my neighborhood? And I said, I need to be back in my neighborhood. I want to be what I wanted to see when I was 15 years old. My partner and I, Suzanne Mayer, we started Hinge Neighbors. And what that was really about was there's a highway that runs in the middle of our city. There are 2 totally different social economic groups on either side. And so we wanted to be able to work together to amplify the voices of those people. First off, we created an art project so they could actually beautify their neighborhood together. When I'm working on a community-based project or political project, whatever that may be, I want to infuse some sort of creativity in there. We're all making things happen together, and we're listening to music, all while we're learning about the mission that we have to accomplish in the neighborhood, all while gathering names of folks who might not otherwise come out to see or do anything if I said, I want to find out how you feel about your community or your neighborhood. No, but if they see something that draws their eye, makes them think about themselves differently in the environment, makes them feel a bit happy and connected, and say, hey, I actually did this in my neighborhood. Now they've actually committed themselves physically to a project, and mentally they're committed to moving and shaping this community. So that's how I use art as sort of this, it's the sort of hook joke way. I kind of hook them in there and say, hey, come on, this is cool. Come and join me. You like this. And what I've seen is that people will really talk to each other and engage in conversation. And when we listen, when we try to understand, when we reach out and we ask and we give and we ask and we give, we will find out there are amazing things that can be accomplished together when we connect. My name is Shawn Dunwoody, and this is my brief but spectacular take on bridging communities with art. And I'm done. I'll see you folks later. Just came to see that 5-minute little video there. But no, I just hope that gave a little bit more context of who I am, what I'm about, why I do what I do. So yes, I wanted to be what I wanted to see when I was 15 years old. So I'm going to jump through some of these progresses and some of these moves. A lot of the stuff you saw in here, I am going to talk about that you saw in that video to try and tie it all together and why I do what I do. So Mark was this group of young people. It was a murals, arts, Rochester crew. And what we did was, for 2 years, the city of Rochester employed young people, and what we did was we went around and we created artwork in neighborhoods where it might not otherwise be, to create a focused art investment in neighborhoods. So I had about 12 young people that were with me on this project. Here's some of them right here. They're like, yeah, we got it. You see, there's one of the signs they painted. We first started off by painting on materials that we could apply to something we could stick onto a wall, something we could zip tie onto, so that we can work in the studio and put these things out here. So we started producing some of these pieces. This says, think big and act quickly. So this is actually on the fence of some of you know the Rochester Public Market. This is the fence around the public market. For those of you who don't know, this is a fence that's around our Rochester Public Market. And so we would attach these here, as you can tell. We got those super duty orange zip ties. Not really. And it was there for a while, and then it was stolen. Floss! This was actually a suggestion. We put a word out. We call these words to live by. So we wanted to create words to live by because the words are in the neighborhood where you walk, where you talk, and how that happens. And so I got a submission from a dentist, and they said, say floss. And I said, all right, we're going to paint a floss sign. And the words to live by came about because in the neighborhood, there's always a corner store or a billboard advertising to you, a certain type of alcohol, or inside the store they're telling you can get hot food, EBT, you can get cold beer, cigarettes, all that stuff. Ain't nothing wrong with none of that stuff. I enjoy most of that stuff. But I realized that, walking by, when young people are going by and walking by and families are going by, they're being influenced by that. So I thought, if we could take over these corner store fronts, if we could take over areas and influence people in different ways, we've got them for 4 seconds. So for 4 seconds, we can tell somebody to... We did our job. Amazing piece. People laughed at it, thought it was funny, hilarious. Once again, those super duty orange, what are they? They're green zip ties. Held it to that fence, but not for too long. Stolen. This one came from a community resident. They said, hey, we want someone to pray for our neighborhood. So tell everyone to pray for our neighborhood. So we made this canvas banner, and we hung it up on the entryway to the market, and we go back to, check and inspect everything, and guess what? It's gone! All right, now I'm pissed. Now I'm just pissed off. All right, so I said, let's go. We're going back to this damn studio. We're going to make another one of these. We made it bigger. Oh, yeah. Then I got to take this. Hung it up there. We did that one in silver. It was reflective. It's like, God, you're gonna see anybody if they try and take this. We go there the next day, and you guess what? It was stolen. Who was stealing that? I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. But that actually led to something that I would do in the future, understanding people need inspiration. People need something. If it's here on the street and someone took it, it means it was needed. Somebody must have needed prayer, or they needed to offer prayer to someone else, and that's how I view it, and that's why they took it. So what we did was it got a bit smarter, and we started adhering things to walls. Started off with these pieces of these Post-it notes that we would design and use these plastic sheeting to bend them out. And we would stick these on buildings. And these were actually input from community. We always tried to follow, let's create environments that the people are attached to. So when they see it, they can see their names and say, hey, I said that. I'm part of this movement. I'm part of what this is here in this town here in Rochester. So these all came from folks who gave us input. Which led me to doing another project. After being engaged and saying, all right, we're putting words in the street, we're getting information from people on the street. I said, what else can be done? Now, every couple of years I go to Philadelphia. They got a great mural arts program down there. So try to explore Philly, see what's going on down there, and check out the murals. And I would take those young people from Mark down there as well, and they would explore Philadelphia. They got the chance to hang out with the Roots. I don't know if any of you know who the Roots are. We painted a mural alongside the Roots. It was cool. And so with this project, we were down there, and I saw an area in Germantown where two Dutch artists, Haas and Hans, had actually taken over a neighborhood block for like 2 years. They lived there. They employed people in the neighborhood. And what they did was they came up with these colored bands to color the faces of these buildings. And I thought, I wonder if I could do that here. Could I pull this off? Where could I do this? And so working initially with some folks from Greentopia, we were in the area of J and Grape Street, okay? I don't know if any of you are familiar where that is. There were two buildings there, one of which was a store, corner store, and the one across the street was a building where they make fizz soda, they make fizz soda. So if any of you have ever seen that, there's these two guys, they've been making it, Lou and Joe. When I tell these stories, I have to imitate Lou. I gotta talk like this, you know what I mean? And they're back there making sodas in these machines that are literally from 1940, and their soda bottles are blowing up all over the place, and he's swearing and everything. And so I go to these two buildings, which is in this neighborhood, which in 2012 and 2013 was considered the 7th most dangerous neighborhood in America. They actually removed the traffic light from that corner because there was too much drug activity happening at the stoplight. They wanted people to keep it moving, keep it going, keep it going. So I'm trying to figure out what could we do to actually, could this project happen? So once you speak things into existence, that's how I go. I'm like, yeah, we're doing this thing called the Fruit Belt Project. I have no clue what the hell I'm talking about. But it's in a neighborhood. I should tell you more about the neighborhood. So I said, Grape, there's a Orange Street, there's a Lime Street, there's Oak, there's a Maple. You see, there's a running theme there. We got these sort of fruit belts. And so walking around and working with the community, I was able to come up with what we could do. So I hired young people who were in the area and some that were from out of the area. And we went door to door and we asked people, once again, for input or things they'd like to say on these walls. We've got all this great energy and everything's flowing, but I have one thing missing, and that's paint. I have no paint. But I'm telling everyone, this thing's happening, and you're going to help us paint. Had no clue where the paint was coming from, but one day I get a call from a guy at Sherwin-Williams that says, hey, we have this National Painting Day. Would you like to, can we do a project with you? I'm like, sure can, let's do this. So I told him about the neighborhood, talked to him, so I got those people on board, got community engaged, people are excited about it. But the whole point, once again, was not about what we could do on those walls. It was about could we change the persona or how people view the neighborhood. So I had to get people there who weren't from the neighborhood. How was I going to do that? I don't know. So I started creating my social posts. I started going on the news. I started talking to as many people as I could and told them about this great paint out I'm having. We're going to invite you. Anyone who's 3 or 93 can grab a brush and you can help us paint and revitalize and build and strengthen this community. So I put the word out there. I said, okay, well, we probably need to do something else. I'll start to add layers, and I don't need to add layers at certain points. I said, who else is around here? So I reached out to the local soccer team. I said, hey, soccer team, why don't you guys come on down and kick a ball around or whatever else. I reached out to the fire department. I said, we're going to be down here. It'd be great. You're right around the corner. Why don't you come over here? That'd be fantastic. And I thought again, all right, we need something else. We need food. People need to eat. So I reached out to a friend of mine who owns a bar on Alexander Street, and I said, hey, Cameron, can I use your, can you bring your food truck by? Because you got a truck in the back of the establishment, but it can't drive itself. He says, oh man, no, I don't. It's a one that's got a hitch on it and everything like that, but I wish I could. I'm excited about the project, but I'll see what I can do. So we hang up. I get a call back from him 5 minutes later. He says, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go buy a truck and I'll bring it out to the event. I was like, holy smokes. And he did. So, okay, we got these things going. We got people there. I'm trying to get people there, all right? So, let me see if I can, my stuff is in order here. Oh, I forgot to show you. This is actually from a window down the street in the neighborhood. Somebody actually flipped over a cop car. That's crazy, right? So I get set up. I've got my van. I got all my paints laid out, ready to go. Initially in the morning, it's a bit cold and rainy, drizzly out. And I'm like, oh man, is anyone going to come? And I'm nervous. I'm like, nervous. Is anyone going to come? And then a group of folks come marching around the corner. It's about 25 folks from Sherwin-Williams because they're coming in to help paint. So they're coming over. And I'm like, oh, thank you guys. I'm saying thanks. And I slapped the one guy on his back. And I'm like, what's that on your back? He's like, oh, that's my bulletproof vest. I'm like, dude, that's serious, man. It's all right. Calm down. I don't think nobody's going to start shooting you at you right here in the neighborhood. So the day starts to clear up a bit more. People start to trickle in. And magic starts happening. We start getting people up there, being engaged, pouring out paint, doing cleanups. I have this method where I call it each one, teach one. So what it is, I'll set one person up on a station. If you showed up, I'm going to tell you to start pouring paint. And you start pouring paint. And if someone comes up, it's your job to tell the next person what you're doing. And if you're making triangles and the next person come up, you tell them how to make the triangle. So everyone has to teach each other so everyone knows what we're doing, because it also stimulates that conversation. We have to be talking while we're working because we have to find out a bit more about each other as we're doing these projects. So everybody's getting there. So we got little kids out there. Each one, see, he's showing each one. I told DJ, you show them how to do this and they will take it on from there. Here's folks that are actually pouring out paint for other people. Oh, there's the soccer team. Look at that. There's the food truck. Yeah, he pulled it in. There's Cameron serving it himself. There's a refresher if anyone's wondering what that bar is. Food Link showed up and was giving out healthy meals. There I am pouring out paint. The news came out. There's the guy right next to me, Pat's the guy who actually hooked me up with all the paint. There it is. These guys are going Fruit Belt project. They're painting doors. I just like this picture because it looks like I'm gonna slap. I don't know what I'm doing here. It's like, is she dancing? Am I making a move? And why do I have it looks like a pointy stick in my hand? I have no clue what's going on in that picture. I just like putting it in there. And so folks are going ahead, cleaning up things, making it happen. Even got the police to come out. I said, hey, if you're in this neighborhood and you're patrolling and going through, be part of it. Let the folks see that you care. They got it and helped paint it, which was awesome. And I just like to stick that in. That's my granddaughter there. I just like to stick that in because I just thought it was cute. Now you can say, aw. Thank you. You guys care so much about me. I just can't believe it. Now, me and my bright ideas. So I'm in a community meeting in the neighborhood. They've seen things, they're painted, things are happening. And someone in the meeting says, hey, we should have a community garden. I said, we should, and I'm going to do it. I don't know how to plant a damn thing. But I can call on people. So I called folks, Brocolo, and I called on folks over at Harley who had a school, and there's School 17 who actually has an engagement, agricultural garden growing club. And so we came out. So if we're in a neighborhood, we're trying to beautify it, everything's connected to the fruit belt. And if people are hungry in a neighborhood, what is something that we can provide people with? Food. And how could we do that without actually being there all the time? Anybody know? You grow some fruit trees. So we actually put fruit trees in a lot that is owned by Lou and Joe right next to there. And so she's instructing these young people how to actually plant trees, how to dig holes. I'm learning things as I go along. That's one of the end products where people are saying things on the wall. Once again, those are quotes from people in the community. oh, I have to tie in RRT now. So a friend of mine is teaching letterpress class to RRT, and I said, hey, you know what? I think I would like to do some posters that we distribute out in the neighborhood so, folks can actually feel inspiration. Because, there was a project I did one time where I put words on the street, and you know what happened to them? They were stolen. Why don't we just stick these up on the light poles and put them in the stores so people can just take them? And that's what we did. So I worked with this class to create these posters that we did staple onto the poles, did leave in the stores nearby. As you can see, Love is a place, and that place is called Josetta. That's sort of what the neighborhood's called there. They found quotes and used those together to create these posters. And we did put those out in the community, put them at the school so people could take them, because I found out people like to take art to be inspired. Well, why don't we do something else? Once again, our IT students, we designed seed packets to give to the community. If we were creating this garden, why don't we give seed packets? So they designed these seed packets, they put the seeds in themselves, and we actually, once again, distribute this throughout the community so that people can actually grow their own food. We're trying to solve a problem here, but it's not necessarily so much about the paint that was on the wall. It was about drawing attention. It was about changing the perception of things. It was getting people engaged. So now we have created a garden. We've distributed posters. We've got seed packets. We've created this vibrancy on these buildings. Got people to come down who would have been scared, like the guy who was wearing a bulletproof vest. But wait, there's more. I'm talking to Lou. And I'm like, Lou, man, I was like, you're making this soda here. How about we make a soda, fruit belt soda? He's like, that's a good idea, but why don't you make a salsa there? If you're trying to be healthy, trying to help the community, make something that's sugar-free, that won't harm the kids and everybody feels all right. More planting. And there's Lou with the black jacket on. There's Joe on the other side. And here's they make this kind of stuff, And there's the fruit belt salsa. We actually made it. And we would actually, to help support the things we're doing and continue painting and moving forward, the proceeds would go back to supporting what we were doing and that School 17, which is down the street, to help support them going down and continuing that work in the garden. So we produced all these things thinking, what can we do to shape things? Now, did it work? We found that people, when I talked to Lou and Joe, we found that people were visiting the stores more often. They were coming to their facility to come purchase from them directly. Sales increased, so that means something. That means people knew it was there. The school said that people were feeling a bit more connected. Neighbors said they felt a bit more connected and enjoyed what they were viewing on a day-to-day basis. So there was something, we did some sort of tick. It wasn't just about applying paint to the wall. We wanted to have some real change happen here. Say I will and I can. This is a trailer. There's actually a documentary about this. It's called Confronting the Wall. I won't play this trailer. You can Google it, look it up. It's on my website as well. But it's about, you'll find out more about the young people that I hired, where they come from, what they're about, and what they actually learned from this project going forward. Now, after we do this, we're engaged in, some of you folks might have heard of wall therapy that happens here. So I had two of my folks who are working with me. They're working with this Days, who's internationally known, and a friend of mine, Eder Muniz, who's in Brazil. He was up painting. We're talking and meeting the kids. We're talking about the Food Belt Project, and Eder says, hey, why don't you come down to Brazil? I was like, okay, maybe we should come down to Brazil. So then, Fruit Belt went to Brazil to actually paint Words to Live By in Brazil. So we took some of these young folks with us to be engaged in the community, understand what's there. There's a group shot of all of us there with our Fruit Belt t-shirts on. Excuse me, take a sip of my water. So it's a 300-meter wall. And we had the two cap ends, which, excuse my Portuguese, I'm not the best at it, but que beleza, hope I'm saying that right. Oh, how beautiful. And so we were the people there that held together the glue to the full mural piece. And this is me at, oh, come on. I can't remember his name. I just forgot it. But me and this young guy, he just walks up. He's like, I want to paint. I can't speak Portuguese or anything like that. But his dad could translate for us. And I was like, Benjamin, that's his name. And little Benjamin was there, and I'm telling him, I'm dripping a paint. You gotta put it up like this, being silly with him. It was a great moment to be able, once again, to be engaged with the community. As Eder had said, he said, it's a good thing, it's a beautiful thing to see people beautifying something and it inspires other people. He said, if you folks are here painting, why can't I be here? Why can't I clean up my street? Why can't I do something else? You came all the way from the States to do this. I'm inspired to do something else. So we realized that was an impact as well. Here we go. As the media covered that we were there to work on this piece. Oh, which leads me into a new idea, a scavenger pump. Okay, I was working with a mag on a piece. I was going to have a cool segue to that. I was going to say I'm taking a step forward, but I forgot to say it. I'm taking a different step. I like that one. That was nice. And so it was for the Ebony Fashion Fair that was coming into town. And so it's like, all right, we want to do something, I said, yeah, we want to get communities engaged. We want people who would not walk into this museum. We want them here. So I created the scavenger pump. And what that was I designed these, I like to call them golden tickets, I designed these paper shoes that I handed out to about 50 different people. And I asked them to put them in locations that no one would really think about or people wouldn't go to, and I want people to find them. And on that ticket, I think it's, what did it say, that ticket? In the ticket, I believe, oh, there's one. Somebody stuck that on top of an ear inside of a restaurant. That's crazy to me. Okay, so inside the ticket, it gave admission for you and a guest. You and a guest. People were placing them all over places. I tried to tell people, make sure it's a population of people who would not normally go. The night that they were invited to come, all 50 shoes came back. And one of my favorites was this young man, must have been maybe, 16, 17. He's with his girlfriend, maybe 16, 17. And, he came with the ripped up piece of the shoe because he ripped it out of the shoe. He ripped it, he figured that's the ticket. And he walked up to me and said, here's my ticket. And I was like, wow, this is beautiful. He's like, yeah, I'm bringing it here on a date. He said, I found it. He found it downtown somewhere random. And he said, I read it, and I just showed up here, and this is our first time ever coming to this museum or gallery. And he said, thank you. And so it actually did something. It got to other people's attention to say, hey, this is what I thought I wasn't going to get any of them back, to be honest with you. I thought people were going to toss them to the side, they'll blow in the wind, but people, all 50 returned, which was a great feeling. So when you get people engaged and get people happening, you know what happens next? You want to do something else to change the world. So that's why I'm going to run for city council. So worked on this piece with a dear friend of mine who passed away to create, because we wanted to show, part of my approach for politics was to keep things graphic and interesting. Keep people engaged in different ways if we can. So that is actually a silhouette of my face, New York State there, and my classic, I like to wear them, as Josh likes to say, my fancy bow ties. So this was part of our design and moving forward and how to actually use this and how to brand this campaign in different ways. First we started off with, let's get some stickers out there. Woohoo! All right? Of course I'm stealing a little bit of, who knows what that symbol is over there on this side? All right, who said that? All right, you all right with me. You're all right with me. You get a $20 prize. Please see Josh at the end. So I wanted to touch certain people who would be like, oh, I know who that is. And be like, oh yeah, that's a Dunwoody dude, huh? And on top of that, I had to stick the classic bow tie on there as well. And these were products and things that I created that we would give out. So during Pride Parade, we were giving out stickers and everything else, which later on, when people started to catch on to this, they were like, oh, he's doing something different. We've never done that before. And other candidates started doing the same thing, trying to figure out how they can create a design of themselves. Somebody tried to do the same sort of thing. It didn't work. With the silhouette, it just didn't work. It just didn't work. One of them was going with, his last name was Miller. He was making these, it's Miller time, sort of parodies and stuff. Everybody was on. I was like, okay, see, you wanted to change how people did politics by design. There it is, the Shawn Dunwoody right there. Oh, and they would say, be the change. We are the change that we seek, you know, the Barack Obama piece. And here we got these little cutout thingies. So I was thinking about, all right, what do we do with these things? This New York state of mind. How are we thinking about New York? Once again, playing off the logo, playing off of this. So I said, all right, I distributed these in places that said, hey, snap a photo of how you see Rochester. Inside of this, people were actually using that logo, once again, showing what they see inside of Rochester. And I said, well, I got to get it to more people. How am I going to do this? So I went to Parcel 5, and I dropped this down there. So people could actually take them right off of there. So that way you don't even have to fight them. They're just free. Just take them. Because once again, people like to take things, don't they? Take them, snap, do your snapshots, do what you need to do. Just trying to get people to think differently. Think differently about how you engage with people and how people engage with you. See, I got a big head. That was my big head shot, right? And now I'm running for office. I guess that's maybe why I lost. Because I got a big head shot there. But I didn't lose by much. I'll tell you that. But yeah, the big head shot. And I was like, oh, wow. That maybe inspired me to work with other creatives as well. How do we bridge this gap and work with other creatives? So I had to make a big head myself. That is actually a piece. Why is that not in here? Let's see. There it is. I jumped the gun. Worked with great illustrator David Cowles and why is his name escaped? Kurt Ketchum on these campaign pieces that were posters that were given out to people. And from that, I designed that big head in the parade. So I was really just trying. And there, look at, I forgot I even put a big bow tie on there. That thing was tall. So it's actually a big cardboard head of myself. Just once again, how do we think differently about campaigns? No one had ever done a sort of campaign float with a big ass head on it. So I had to stand out from the rest on that one. Oh, and I started doing, because earlier on you heard me talk about wanting to be a superhero. So I started using different things as part of my campaign. Anybody know where this symbol comes from? No one's going to get this. Nobody's going to get this. You got this? No, you don't. I'm going to sing this song. Believe it or not, it's just me. Believe it or not, I'm...
Greatest hero.
You got it! I knew somebody around my age would get that. Yes, greatest American hero. Yes, so I put in there the SD. And then, does anyone know this one? And I didn't even have the other one. I have this also a cream ale shirt that says Dunwoody on it as well. But I wanted people to envision campaigns differently and see how art and design can actually be part and parcel of moving people forward and getting people inspired. As we talk about being inspired in superheroes, why not do something else to try and change the world? So, got together with a group of friends. We created this event called Super City. Da 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 da! What is Super City exactly? Well, Super City was an event that was born from, going to Comic-Cons and various other things. We realized that, folks, some people didn't have access or the means to go to them. So we realized we're going to do this to little to no charge to anyone. So we had an outdoor con that people could actually walk to and be part of, and that was free. It was amazing to see kids dressed up, adults dressed up. The night before, man, I should have put that video in there. The night before, we had a bar crawl. And it was amazing to see all these folks in costume and in the summer and having a great time. There's a great fight between Joker and Batman and Hat, but it was amazing. I should have put that in there. But it was ways to get people really thinking about the culture of comic books and art and people. And so we were really able to get people there. We had movies showing with bowls of cereal that you could have at the little theater. There was all these things that you could do that would remind you of your childhood or just, being engaged in different things. There's somebody dressed up there with our first edition poster we were giving away with Super City stuff on there. I just loved her outfit. I thought she was amazing. Does that person have a gun? That's scary. Hope that's a problem. Yeah, we had swag we would give folks. They could get their Super City buttons, and that one in the center, eyed car dealership was our sponsor. So all these things I worked on, I designed so that we could get things going on this. So that's why I'm showing you this. Which led me to this, Legion of Legends. So we're sitting there planning things and thinking about, okay, all right, we've got this great Comic-Con thing that's going to be outside. Super City's going to be awesome. You know, and I was walking away thinking, you know, we everyone knows, you know, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. But what do we have any local superheroes here? And this taps into where I always wanted to be a superhero. And I thought about it. I said, well, I don't think we do. So I think what I'm going to have to do is, I'm going to have to make some. And so I took the City of Rochester's logo, broke it apart, kind of reminiscent of the greatest American hero. Took one petal out of there and realized that each petal could represent different teams and different groups. But I started off with the first person, Frederick Douglass. Ba-da-da! He's got sonic scream and sound manipulation because he was a great orator, so I wanted to connect that to his speaking and how he engages with people, with information about him being an abolitionist, an orator, and a statesman. Dun dun boom boom. Susan B. Anthony, superhuman strength and durability. Yes, I wanted because she was a strong woman. I wanted her to be super strong so she can pick up cars and throw things. This is George Eastman. He's got this energetic constructs, kind of like the Green Lantern. He can create these things, these images, connecting to images in film. And for those of you who have ventured, oh, I lost one, didn't I? And those of you who might have ventured downtown, there's a big spinny building down there that no longer spins, Changing of the Scenes restaurant. I was driving around one day, I said, oh, wow, that'd make a great robot. Bum, 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 bum. There's a whole bunch of these teams that I have. I got all kinds of people that do all kinds of things. I got a time-traveling Professor Ware. She's got a steamboat wheelchair, and she travels in the Clock of Nations, which used to be at Midtown, which none of you would ever know about. I got this guy called Plates, who can alter the tectonic plates, but every time, and he can throw them around, but every time he alters the ground and the ground starts to form, it takes the shape of like hot dogs and onions and meat sauce and cheeseburgers, and that starts flying around. I can't figure it out. But there's a whole crew I've got, even from sports teams, everything else. That's a whole other world in itself. But I did that because I wanted people to be inspired by what they have locally. So what I do is I've traveled to many schools, care facilities, a lot of places to actually talk to people about this and set this up. And the one thing I was showing here was actually one time I was set up at the Strong where I did some projections on these pieces so people could be engaged and learn more about superheroes on Superhero Day at the Strong. Oh, and as we talk about superheroes, all right, so I just made these, so I stuck them in here. In the top right, that's not right. Which way is your way? Okay, top right, over there, Harriet Tubman. Frederick Douglass down here. Anna Murray Douglass. Austin Stewart. If you don't know anything about these folks, please Google them. Austin Stewart owned a store on Main Street, Buffalo Street, one of the major stores right where the convention center is. Harriet Tubman moved people along in the Underground Railroad. Anna Murray Douglass was the wife of Frederick Douglass. And each one of these persons had superpowers, so I wanted to be able to affect and influence people of color. And these are what these folks actually look like. So you can see what they actually look like. I gotta get some water, out of breath. Oh, and I started making these things. Each one connected to a different hero. Top one's probably Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. Go, you get the gist. Then, let's try something else. I want to be super again. Let's try something else. Composers Crossing. Composers Crossing was an idea between myself and a friend of mine, Richard Glazer, who's actually doing another talk someplace here tonight. There he is right there. So we're like, all right, let's put these piano keys in front of the Eastman School of Music, right? That seems to make sense, right? It's a school of music, piano keys, everyone will have a good time. We're like, all right, this is awesome. City says that's cool, but the institution says no. They own everything on each, 3 of the 4 corners that we needed the permission from to even do this. We even got the okay from Department of Transportation. And they're like, we don't know. Who's gonna maintain it? Who's gonna keep it up? Who's gonna do this? We don't want it to make us look bad. I'm like, you don't own it. It's the street. But, sometimes with a little bit of applied pressure, say, I don't like the way this is happening. I'd like to see this happening. Then we get a call the next day, say, okay, yeah, you guys can go ahead and make it happen. So I put a call out. We say, let's get community out here and actually do this. Let's do this. And as I tell Josh all the time, whenever I'm doing something, I don't know if one person's going to show up or there might be 100 people. Who knows? So we put the call out. Composers Crossing, come on down, help us paint. People came out to help us paint. We closed. That's me trying to. I think I'm orchestrating something. Or I'm just like, I think I'm okay. I don't know. Please, somebody call an ambulance. I don't know. But there's folks all over the place. Once again, it's sort of the organized confusion, and each one teach one. So we get everyone engaged so that they can make things happen. There was a pattern that was made. I created a pattern that people could use to lay out the lines so they can do what they would do it. So they would lay out that stencil. Groups of people would move the stencils around the piano keys to get that in place. As you can see, they're doing it right there. You see, I'm not doing anything, right? I've taught everybody else how to do it. Now they can do it. Oh, and a band did come out and play, which was awesome to have there. And you've seen some of this here. And that was our finished product. And then after that, when it appeared in the Washington Post, then everybody, the institution, everybody else was like, oh yeah, it was such a good idea. I'm glad we went along with that. Yeah, there's great. I just like this. I just like playing this. It's only a few seconds. These folks were just on the street. We're just there. I was like, man, this is like a mosaic of folks. I wasn't expecting out here, but it was just good to see people were really excited to be there and engaged in this project. So this gives you a sense of the scale. Stop that right there. Now, which then talks, remember, all these things are connected to that first 3 minutes you saw. Okay, now I'm going to move on to Hinge Neighbors, which my partner Suzanne, that I said in the other piece, our initial move was how do we, and I designed this too, once again, how do we hinge, that's a neighborhood, because the city of Rochester, I should have my slide here, okay, has this big inner loop that was around. This part's been closed off since, all right, this purple part. But this was a loop that actually cut off families, it cut off people's incomes, it destroyed homes, businesses, it left a lot of poverty and sometimes loss in Rochester. And so when we heard they were going to fill in the other great part, since they've already done the purple part, we felt we needed to get together and get citizens engaged. So we wanted to get people together. We were going to go at it good, make it happen. But then COVID hit. And our mission was about getting people together to voice how they feel and be able to communicate that with designers in the city. So I'm sitting thinking, how can we engage with people? How do we get people even thinking about Hinge or even thinking about each other? Well, we can't be near each other. We can't touch each other. We can't get near each other, but we can help each other. It made me realize that looking at the demographics, when we looked at who was inside this loop, those are the people we needed to address, and a lot of those folks were riding public transportation. I said, all right, I think I know how we can get to them. I think I know what we can do to help. We need to find a way to help first, because as I've said before, we've got to be able to give before we can ask anyone. We have to give before we can ask anyone anything if we want to accomplish anything in this world. So I took these old Pace bike things that used to hold bikes. I said, all right, you know what? We're going to make the first ever public sanitation stations. Started off with little sketches, me just decide to figure out everything. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to call it. I call it Love in the Loop. Oh. And a sanitation station. Love in the Loop. Once again, this was the design. How do we keep people thinking about how do we engage with folks so it draws their attention? Here's some of the back of the piece. There's the front of the piece, and I attached a one of them hand, when you get soap dispenser. Yeah, one of those. And working with Rochester Midland and Iron Smoke Whiskey and the city and Regional Transit Service, we had a bunch of cases of this stuff, of this hand sanitizer. So we were giving out it for free to folks, and we had to find strategic spots. Once again, putting it at the transit center, had 2 there, had 2 down Main Street, and there were 4 in total. That was our finished product right there. To be able to have people sanitized and connected. Because people are riding that transit center and they're going home to their families. And we wanted to make sure they were protected. That's when we came up with the protect your circle and the sanitation stations. This is one of the first public sort of engagement and design things that Hinge did in order to get people safely home and safely connected. Which led into another design thing I had to do with the city, Protect Your Circle. They wanted a campaign to have people stay safe. So I was like, I'm going to go drastic. I'm going to say 6 feet under, you're going to die. Right about that. So it was, stay home, save lives, protect your circle. So I created the stencils of these skeletons. And I would spray paint them on the ground, along with these pieces right here. It's a wheat paste that I would paste on the traffic boxes. So my point with this was the county already had a campaign and a slogan. But I knew, and I was on, okay, I'll let you in on a little secret. I was on the phone with the county about doing said thing. And I'm like, where are you going to do this? How are you going to do this? They're like, we're going to do it here. We're going to put it here. I'm like, you're not going to reach the people. You're not going to reach the black and brown people who really need this information. You're not going to reach them. And I said, you got to be a little harder too. You can't just say, be safe. That's what I said with 6 feet. 6 feet apart or 6 feet under. They're like, oh no, that's too harsh. We don't want to say that. And at the end of that conversation, I said, well, it was fun, but you just told me what I needed. You just showed me. Thank you. I'm saying thank you because you just told me what I needed to do, and that's what I created: 6 feet apart or 6 feet under. And I would go around town to every quadrant in the city who may not be listening to Warm 101.3 or any other classical news station to hear about how to keep yourself safe. So I'd go into those higher risk areas, as people like to call them, and I'll just skip that. And I would go and spray paint things. This is me on St. Paul, right down the way from the transit center, and people would come out and watch. And while they were out watching, they would ask me questions. And this is where I had my list of statistics and places they could go. So I was disseminating information, once again, drawing their eye. Come here, look at this. There's a guy on the street spray painting. Come look at this. But I could also give them information as they came by. There's a great roller piece in the back. Also with that, those pastes that I did, I turned those into coloring pages. And what I did was, you could download them, and I also put them in the corner stores in the neighborhood so that kids could actually take them home and color them so they would be around each other. So this one I did was also wheat paste as well, kind of based on Wakanda. And Black Panther. This one was actually based more on Erykah Badu, and actually bringing in the florals with these pieces. I was talking about Kehinde Wiley as well. I'm trying to bring that in as well so people can understand more about that. All right. All this stuff's going on. This pandemic, right? I'm getting calls from the media about things. You got George Floyd. You got Daniel Prude going on, and people are upset, and media folks are calling me, asking me for statements. I don't know why they're asking me. I'm just a guy who slaps paint on the wall. And I didn't respond to anyone when they wanted my input as to what was going on. What was this upheaval? Why were people upset? Why were people angry? Because I didn't want to say anything unless I had something I could do about it. And so I'm scrolling through my Twitter feed, and a friend of mine, Quajay, great photographer, just wrote the words "enough" in the Twitter feed. I said, that's exactly it. We've been held down, we've been held in, we can't be in contact with one another, and all these things are going on, and people are dying, brown people are dying in the streets, and I've just had enough. So I went out one day, I painted this on the wall, about my Black Lives Matter. I posted it on my social web, and I said, please feel free to say what you've had enough of. Enough of police brutality, enough of anything, anti-Semitism, anything. Just if you've had enough of anything, if you feel there's enough money to help the world, put it up there. I would have to say, 2 hours later, became this. It was a lot there. And I just left one little area of chalk there. And what was amazing to me was the chalk was always replenished. I never came back once to put chalk there. And when it rained and all that was gone, it'd be back again. I felt it was a way for people to release, to get things out there, because we're not actually communicating. It's hard to communicate. I get a call from the city again about we need something else to do. Okay? In Washington, they painted Black Lives Matter on the street. Can we do that here? I'm like, yeah, we can do that here. Initial plan was going to be on Main Street downtown. I'm like, all right, so I'm calling my guy Pat. Remember Pat? He was standing next to me. He got me the pen. I said, hey Pat, I need some paint. Yeah, we're gonna paint Black Lives Matter on Main Street. We got this? I was like, I need 100 gallons of yellow. He's like, there's nothing like that around here in this region. There's no yellow. No, there's not enough base to make the yellow base that you're requiring. We just don't have it. Because there's a paint shortage. I'm like, all right, okay, no yellow. How about green? He's like, that's the same base that we use to make the yellow. And I said, okay, well, can we go with, because I was just thinking about my outline of my piece, right? I was like, can we go with a blue? It's like, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. And then after I'm done talking to him, made me think about blue. And it realized we have our Black Lives Matter and our Blue Lives Matter thing going on. And I'm trying to think, all right, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do this? I said, oh, what am I gonna do? But then sometimes we ask for things and the universe will give you what you ask for. And so the universe reminded me of how our Genesee River runs south to north, just like the Nile. And you're connected to that waterways just like the Nile, just like you are brown, just like the original people of Kemet or Egypt were brown. You make that connection. Those brown people invented the color blue, so that's why you can paint it blue right there, damn it. Oh. I get a call day or so later. We're not painting Main Street. Wait a minute, that was my whole connection, was the water. They tell me we're painting Court Street. I'm like, okay, is that what we're doing? I guess I've got to go with that. This is an aerial view. There's Court Street right there, up top. This is MLK Park, right there. As you can see, it's all gray, right? Just a gray slab. It used to function well years ago, but now it just feels cold and lifeless. So they wanted me to paint Black Lives Matter on Court Street. I said, I will do that, but I need to do something more than just that. I said, this is where people have been gathering to march, to protest, to express what they feel, to express their pain, their anger, their feeling of unjust. We've got to do something. It's an amphitheater. It's an amphitheater. So I want to be able to amplify people's voices because a protest is art. It's about the poetry. It's about the movement as you march. It's about the signs. It's the visual connections. And it's about the energy. And when all that's happening in that location, and then it leaves. There's nothing left. So how do we capture that energy? How do we capture that movement? So I said, I'm going to paint that whole amphitheater, that bowl, I'm going to paint it black. They're like, eh. I say, yes, that's if you want me to put this gesture on the street, then I want to do something that's going to be what I feel meaningful. Let's change the design or how it's used. This is what it looked like. All right, pretty neat, pretty cool. This is the finished product of the Black Lives Matter. One of the things that was interesting about this is people were questioning me about the choice of color. I was asked by a lot of people, is this a political move? Are you on the side of the cops? What are you doing? Why'd you paint that blue? You trying to say something? I'm like, what?
Try not even to answer, folks. I mean, people were literally calling me and asking me, why did I paint something blue? Initially, I thought about actually doing this with people, but then I realized, as I said earlier, because sometimes you never know if you're going to get one person or 100. In my mind, if I said to the city of Rochester, let's paint Black Lives Matter on this Court Street, I was going to have way too many people out there who would be willing to do it. So I did a small crew to get it done. One of the cool parts about it was it faced into a radio station where just about 2 weeks earlier, 2 radio hosts were fired for saying that someone was acting inwardingly. They were fired. Oh, is that my cue?
Yeah.
Is somebody going to come out with a hook? And so, what I found interesting from putting this blue mark, maybe it drew their eye to it, with it saying Black Lives Matter, to one of the most conservative radio hosts in this building is in there. They're taking pictures of it, and they're sending it out on their media channels. So they're actually spreading the message that sometimes they're saying, nah, we don't believe in this. But since it's right in front of their face, there was a different way that that message got to their audience. I was like, okay, you keep sending that out. So we get to the point of painting MLK. Once again, I put that call out there, come and help me join in painting this amphitheater black. Most of the people who showed up to help me paint were African American women who brought their kids and grandkids and various other folks with me, so I salute those sisters for that. It was good to have people. They see people that climbing all up inside of the thing. I'm like, that's kind of dangerous, but I don't know. Please don't fall. See, there's folks all over, news cameras there, media's there. We got people with poles all over the place. People are here painting things. Well, that's us painting things too. People already started, but I'll show you what it looked like. It took us 2 days, but afterward, I just happened to go by one day, and there was a guy with a drone, and he's like, hey, why don't you stand on top of that thing, and I'll shoot this footage of you. So, as you can tell, people started to own the space. So now, when that energy was there, it stayed there. People were engaged in it. People were writing messages. People were talking about the things that were valuable to them, or what meant to them. It's like all these things. Why aren't you furious? I mean, people are leaving messages. People are telling people things. I'll zip through these. You can always see them another time. But there's all these things. And so the space got a different energy. It was a way to vent, but it was also a way to celebrate. As you can tell, people are putting in quotes from Frederick Douglass. That's another shot of that one. Agitate, agitate, agitate. So people were engaged. Now they're leaving messages, and it became a photo backdrop. I saw people in there for graduations. I'm like, okay, music videos. It became a whole different beast in itself because it was the people's space. It didn't belong to the city at that time. It didn't belong to me. It belonged to the people and how they could actually engage and be a part of it. Sending beautiful messages. Choose love. There it is covered with people. If you notice that one right there, there's nothing on there right there, but I'll get to that do not enter fountain sign. But there's always something. There's got to be more, doesn't there? So what else can I do? What else can I add to this space that can bring a whole new life to it? And so I thought, how about, oh, there's somebody, be proud to be white, be kind. Everybody has their opinion, right? Here's folks that people are coming down with families. Once again, one time I put a bucket out of chalk and never came back to put any more. People were engaged in bringing their own chalk and leaving it there for people to write and bringing their own chalk for people to really write these messages to everyone. I'm trying to get to where I'm going here. Come on. I brought a piano. Painted it black so people could write on it. And people can play music on it. The minute I put it in place, this happened. And it was beautiful to see just someone walking by who knew how to play the piano. And just played that piece. I put the little umbrellas on there. Those were actually taken a little later, but I realized that's valuable for other people who don't want to get caught in the rain, so I helped somebody stay dry in the coming weeks. So it worked out quite well. So it became, once again, it became this community useful space. It even became a summer reading list. Teacher wrote on there a summer reading list. Okay, now, that's pretty amazing. That people are thinking, they're gathering there, let me leave a message. People are giving messages back and forth. A young man told me he was there one time writing his Black Lives Matter, and another guy was talking about his All Lives Matter, and they had a conversation, but they agreed to disagree and keep it moving. So, that summer reading list made its way to the director of the library, who stated, I'm going to go buy those books and put it in the free library right above the Martin Luther King Park so people can have these books. People started bringing books that were about educating the community. A kid's book about racism. It became, once again, the people's space. All from just changing a simple feel, how it feels, now it feels designed a bit differently, where people can be engaged, can say what they want to say, and be who they want to be. After a couple of days, I realized I wanted to do something else. I said, I need something that unifies us. I know we all know the Black Lives Matter symbol, but I wanted something that was particularly directly connected to Rochester. And taking the logo of Mr. Lee Green, RIT grad who created that logo, I decided to put the Black Lives Matter fist in there so that people could have an identifying image of what that means here in particular in Rochester. And I made some stickers. And somebody got the tattoo. And, oh, this is one of the other things I did. When people were actually engaged with police, I saw people were using plastic trash can lids and various other things. So I designed some shields for them. And left them there because I knew that's where folks would gather, and that's why I stuck the Black Lives Matter sticker on there. So that we could have that sort of unifying thing. And it became interesting to see people walking around town with that on their shirt. Or when I've gone, I actually literally went to a Wegmans parking lot, and there were like 3 of them in a row right next to each other. I was like, wow, people are having a sense of solidarity. They want to say the message that Black Lives Matter, in particular here in Rochester. Once again, a gathering place. These are school groups. These are just the folks I'm catching. So initially, at nighttime, there were no lights on inside of there, but the people were coming in so late at night. I was there at 3 o'clock in the morning. I won't tell you what I was doing. And the city actually added lights so that people could see. People were there engaged in these walls with these messages at 3 o'clock in the morning, which I just couldn't believe. Which I thought was, here's a classroom group that is gathering here to talk about what is actually on these walls. What are people actually saying? People have left, flowers. It became a whole different installation. There's a concert there. It became a concert and a venue that people never used or thought of doing it that way. I mean, they have, but in the context of recognizing that Black Lives Matter, new mural went up. That's a school graduation. No one had ever held a school graduation in that amphitheater. Composers Crossing. I'm back to it again because we were all back. Everybody's together. It's like, how do we get people together again? We got people together for Composers Crossing. The first time they painted, we had a good time. I was like, let's do it again, but let's do it better. How are we going to do it better? I don't know. We're going to make the piano keys play. Yeah, we're going to make them play. How? I don't know. But if you don't say it, it won't happen. I say, yeah, we're doing it again, and they're going to play this year. They're like, whoa, how? I was like, you'll find out. And once again, this is where I leaned into RIT. I was like, RIT! And I connected with Michelle Harris in game design. And I said, Michelle, I got this idea to make these piano keys play. She's like, okay. I was like, oh, as long as you got it figured out, we'll do it. So I put the call out saying, hey, help us paint, help us make things happen. Folks are out there doing the work. They're taping things up. Each one teach one. The Black Freedom Writers came by as well and helped us paint a little bit. Everyone's engaged, making it happen, families. And this is sort of my call here to let people know that it was going live on Thursdays and Saturdays, 5:30 to 8:30. And this is what we created. that is actually triggered by the people. And so a lot of people would actually walk up to him and try to stop him. I was like, no, it's not got anything to do with pressure. It was this, I can't even explain what she did, but she did something cool where there's a camera that looks down, and when you break those little beams, it actually hits each piano key, and it hits the key and the notes. I was like, as long as you're cool and smart enough to think about that, I don't have to think about it because you can do it. It's just, here's another shot just from a... And people are just like, wow, this is happening. And sometimes you feel like maybe it's a little scary to have people playing in the street, playing in traffic, but it could actually be a really cool and interesting thing to get people out in the street. And so, once again, you get people from 2 to 92 who are actually engaged in a street, crossing the street in ways they hadn't been engaged, and they're skipping and dancing. There's all these kind of things that are happening. With that, we've got Live on the Loop. I'm getting ready to wrap this up in a minute. I'm quick, way over on time. But I always wanted, there's a video about this, but you can find it on my website, all right? We wanted to, part of getting people together, remember, Hinge wanted to get folks together, so what we did was we shut down a bridge and we brought people together. We had live music and food and various other things, and I put trees on the street and grass on the street to give them the sense of what this would feel like with the interloop filled. That's it there, but you can check it out on website. Now I want to get to this. Anybody know what this building is? Anybody know what it says on that building? What does it say? Y'all looking up there, I'm talking about right down there.
Oh, it's the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship.
I'm glad you stated that. That is the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship. That is an RIT building downtown across from the Sibley building. If some of you have gone to the gallery, it's that building right outside of there. And another project that I did with RIT and doing a bronze William Warfield, famous baritone from Eastman Theater, we had our unveiling and had county executive there, I had the mayor there, I had Dr. Munson there, and I never will let an opportunity pass when you can't make something happen. And so I addressed all 3 of them and I said, I have you here in public and I'm going to meet with you about a project that you're going to help me do, okay? And so I had to sit down with Dr. Munson, and I was explaining to him about a project to do on the back side of this building. It's 2 big pieces here, large area. I talked to him about the beacon at Q, and we're actually working on that now. Working with a great number of people here at RIT, as far as in the technologies area, the arts area, to make this happen. And sort of the concept, and so I have to put this out to you folks as well, because once again, if I don't put it out, it won't become together. I need the mastermind. Is to create this interactive piece that goes on the back of this building, so that every season it rotates and changes, so we would create an augmented reality. So for Frederick Douglass's 5th of July speech, you could walk up with your phone, whoop, and Frederick Douglass will come to life and begin to tell you about the speech. Or you'll be able to speak with Susan B. Anthony. Or another time, well, if we're dealing with the subject of indigenous women and what they did here in this community, you would come across one who will come out. So we will have this rotating virtual reality deep fake wall that will change every season from the background. But the image will be sort of static, but we're going to keep making it so that this becomes an educational tool. This is an educational tool. Right around the street from it is a school. The transit center is right across the way from it. We want this to be a beacon that people can learn about the city of Rochester, its history, can learn about the future, can learn about technology, right? Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great to have a virtual reality Josh come out and talking about design? That'd be awesome, right? Wouldn't it? With a snappy little hat on. And so these are the things that we're in discussion with now to be able to put into place. We're in the prototyping talk stage right now to put into place to make this happen so that towards the end of 2023 we will have something that will be in place for our communities and everyone to enjoy. Now, woo! I want to thank you for listening to me ramble to myself. And dance around with myself, and have a little fun with myself. But these are just things I want you to think about. Find ways to inspire people, because sometimes when you're inspiring other folks, you will find inspiration in yourself. Sometimes sometimes it might be difficult to look for it within, but if you give, you can receive. Once again, if you give, you will receive. And I thank you all for your time, and I will end it right here. All right? I know you folks are hungry.
Thanks so much, Sam. We do have a reception planned outside, but I think maybe we'll just take a few questions from the audience in case anyone wants to ask before we head out.
I don't think anyone has any questions.
There's one.
Shawn, Kevin Marks.
Hey.
So, where do you see the overlap? I mean, it's a great presentation, by the way. So, where do you see the overlap between your structured mural painting and the unstructured graffiti art community that is around? Is there an overlap, and can the two coexist and support each other in a positive fashion?
I think that it is organized. It is a whole culture within itself. It goes hand in hand. It is functioning together. It functions together, and I'm going to say it like this. You have a radio, different stations, reaches different people. Just because you like country doesn't mean you have to hate hip-hop. And just because you like hip-hop doesn't mean you have to hate country. It all functions. It all functions in the radio. So writers have their own culture. They are organized. They're together. There's certain rules. There's things you do and you don't do. Certain connections you have. There's certain respects that you do. So it really is an organized culture for the folks who are engaged in it that way. Street artists are engaged in it a different way. Muralists are engaged in a different way. So we can't lump everyone together. Everyone has their separate ways in which they engage with it, but everybody's having these sort of cross conversation pieces. I mean, like a lot of the writers in town I know talk, hang, whatever. There's not a thing of competition or anything else. It's just, this is what I do, and this is what you do. We ain't getting in each other's way. It's simple. Cool. Thank you. All right, go get some cookies.